left the post office. But I thought about him, her son, and how confusing that must have been for him. Always being told to tell the truth, and yet here he was being given out to for being honest, or as his mum said, being rude. How do we learn the difference? Sometimes our ability to hear the truth depends on where it comes from. It depends on who the messenger is. I think we're much more likely to take it well when it comes from someone we love, someone we trust, someone we're sure means well. On the other hand, we're probably likely to react badly or defensively when it comes from someone we think is against us, or someone we think isn't important, or if the truth is just too awkward and too embarrassing. It's been said in a few different places over the last year that the media's pursuit of the truth into institutional and clerical abuse of the Church in Ireland has done the Church a great service. And there are other people who think that the media is just out to get us. But surely they can only tell what they find. Sometimes, of course, they do overstep the mark whenever they give a biased slant on the story, or if they only tell us part of the truth, or when they try to tell us what we should think about the story. The bishops of the 60s and 70s are accused of that kind of control, and it's interesting that parts of the media today are at the same game. The truth spoken about Peter in the Gospel comes from someone that most of us never really notice: the servant girl of the high priest. It's interesting that whilst Jesus is on trial, defending himself with the truth, and the high priest convicts him with false testimony, at the very same time we find the servant girl in the courtyard also seeking to speak the truth. And it is denied by a very scared Peter, the first leader of our church. The uncovering of all the scandals and the victims finally having their voice was initially very embarrassing and inconvenient for leaders in the church, past and present. But it may also have been very upsetting for many of us, for many people in the pews, because the reports that were written also asked questions about society's role. But I would imagine that there are very few people today who would prefer that the truth was not uncovered. And then, of course, there are other truths that we have yet to adequately face as a church. The fact that it's more acceptable for me as a man to stand here and preach, even though priests are called to be leaders from amongst the community, and even though half, if not more, of the believing community are women. That there are rules in our church which seek to exclude certain groups of people from receiving Holy Communion, even though all the stories about Jesus in the Gospels show how much he went out of his way to include people, especially those who were excluded by everyone else. And then the fact that there's a new translation of the Mass, which has been written for us, and which will be given to us sometime next year. And it will be in a strange and older style of English. Even though it was the desire of Vatican II that we should be able to pray at Mass in language that means something to us. I don't claim to have any simple answer to any of these questions, but I do raise them because I love the church, the people of God. Our church has a very uncertain future, but one that I believe is full of possibilities. And the Redemptorists and those who work with us in mission should be in the middle of that, discovering the truth, shaping the future together. I believe that that very strongly. That's the reason I accepted my provincial's request to be a vocations director, because I also believe that God is still calling men and women in Ireland today to be sisters and brothers and priests. But they need our encouragement. They need the support and the prayers of you, their family and friends. If they don't get it from you, where will they get it from? And I would encourage anyone whose truth it is that they are being called to see where it takes them. Peter was faced with the truth, and he denied it. It troubled him. It was inconvenient. Eventually, he realized that, and he was sad, and he went looking for forgiveness. The promise of the gospel, the good news, is that the Holy Spirit will be with us as together we search for the truth. And it's only the truth that will make us free.